If you've ever consumed a cup of coffee, you've probably spilled a drop on your kitchen counter and noticed a residual ring after that drop dries. Now, there's a very simple explanation for this phenomenon, dubbed the coffee ring effect. So coffee is essentially a composition of microparticles suspended in a solution of water. And when you spill a drop of coffee on a surface such as your kitchen counter, evaporation is not uniform across the drop. Evaporation occurs the most rapidly at the drop edges. So in order to compensate for that rapid fluid loss, fluid from the middle of the drop flows towards the edges, bringing the particles with it. And that's where my research comes into play. I take advantage of the coffee ring phenomenon in order to diagnose disease such as malaria, a disease that affects approximately 300 million people in the world every year and is responsible for 1 million deaths, especially in low-resource countries and the developing world. Now, I don't actually use coffee in my research, but I do use microparticles that behave very similarly to coffee in a suspended solution. My microparticles have a ligand that's conjugated to the particle surface that's specific for a malaria protein biomarker that's commonly found in an infected patient's blood sample. Now, my assay is very simple. All I do is I mix that patient blood sample with my particles, and the patient sample binds to my particles. I deposit that drop onto a glass slide that has the same molecule that's on the end of my microparticles that's also specific for the malaria protein. After a couple of minutes, the coffee ring effect takes into place, and a ring is observed after the drop dries. Now, the key step in my assay is a water wash step. So only in the presence of malaria biomarker will the integrity of the ring be maintained after a water wash, because that protein is anchoring the particles to the functionalized glass slide. Now, in the absence of biomarker, everything becomes washed away because there is nothing anchoring the particles to the glass slide. Now, this is extremely advantageous towards diagnosing disease in low-resource settings, because I can detect protein concentrations at levels that are indicative of patients showing no symptoms, borderline symptoms, initial symptoms, and significant symptoms. Now, this is extremely useful in these regions because the only reagents that I need are my particles and my glass. I don't need anything else. I don't need electricity. I don't need running water. And I don't need skilled technicians. The rings show that someone's infected with malaria just like coffee rings. So the next time you spill coffee on your kitchen counter, don't think of it as a mess to clean up. Think of it as inspiration for the advancement of public health.